Welcome back to Fridays with First. I'm your host, Parker, here with Caden Kit. Caden, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Living life. New this week, finally here, the man, the myth, the legend, Joshua Freeze. Josh, how are you?
Oh, doing great. Glad to be back.
Good to hear. Tech crew over there, we got Shirley and Paxton. How are you two doing?
Great.
That's good.
It's Friday.
It is indeed Friday, and we are here on Fridays with First. Starting off today, we will be talking a lot about the NFL with the reffing, the games that are happening, and the upcoming Super Bowl. But first, Shirley with the weekend recap.
Okay, so on Monday we had no games. On Tuesday it was Fort Calhoun boys and girls at here. The girls won 38-26, and the boys lost 42-58. Wednesday there was none. Thursday there was none. And Friday, there are girls sub-districts at Burke and boys wrestling at Boys Town and boys basketball at Conestoga. Tuesday of next week, remember to wear gold for merit, and it is senior night. And the athletes for girls and boys play Plattsmouth, and the games start at 6.
We hope to see all those games packed out next week. Caden, start us off.
Alrighty, so we all know that refs are pretty bad at reffing sometimes in the NFL, so how do we all think they should be punished?
Well, I think if you think about just on all the professional sports leagues, like players get fined for doing stuff wrong, like even criticizing the refs. So, I mean, and I couldn't tell you what a ref makes, but even starting with a fine there, because like right now they just can get removed from postseason reffing, but oh, boo-hoo, I don't have to work as much.
Yeah.
I think there could definitely be some sort of change. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, everyone's going to make mistakes at some point, but it seems that sometimes they're lopsided and they're calling for one team where the calls just make no sense on what they're doing. And it really makes me mad because, I mean, it's kind of going down the same route as NASCAR. I don't know if any of you guys watched NASCAR before, but I used to watch it all the time, and then they'd throw caution flags for no reason, and then they just kept losing fans, and now you look at a race and they have maybe an eighth of the seats filled up because everyone's just not watching anymore because they're sick and tired of the terrible calls and everything. And I honestly think that's going to go down the same route with NFL. Also kind of going off with how they had the Chiefs and the Dolphins game on Peacock. They're making people buy a streaming service to watch the game now, just like they did with Prime Video for Thursday Night Football. And, I mean, I think if they keep doing that, they're going to lose more and more people just like that. So,
Well, and I think it's we sometimes forget as viewers that the NFL is meant to be a business, not only an entertainment, but a business. Yes, to us it's annoying that you might have to buy Peacock, but at the end of the day, the NFL does have to make money. So I think that.
Yeah, I think they make plenty of money no matter what.
Yeah, but think about the opportunities with that. Like Peacock, they could partner with anything else, and they could make even that much more money. But I get where you're coming from. It's annoying when you have to buy a whole nother streaming service just to be able to watch a game that you desperately want to watch. But
a playoff game where there's only 4 games going on the whole weekend. So yeah.
That's fair. So, what do you guys think about the 2-minute challenge flag rule? That you can't throw challenge flags after the 2-minute warning.
I think it's a little bit dumb. I feel like there could be bad calls, like what happens if a touchdown is overturned, or you can't throw a challenge play or flag in that 2 minutes. So I do feel like it kind of gets the game flowing a little easier, because I feel like if you do have those 2-minute challenge flags, it'll stop the game.
Yeah, and I think in most games, though, I think that they should be able to throw it if it's within a certain score gap, because if you're in a 1 field goal game or a 1 touchdown game, 2 minutes is the most crucial time of the game. You know what I mean? Not being able to, if the ref does make a terrible call and but too bad, so sad, that just costs you the game, then so be it. And so I think that's kind of ridiculous, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I really don't see any benefit to it. I mean, the last 2 minutes, like Parker said, is pretty much the most critical part of the game. And if the refs make a bad call, then they can really mess up the game for either team. And kind of going back, if that has any part, if they're calling towards a certain team, then you can really justify a game just by one call, one bad call, by doing that. So I really see no benefit to it. I don't see why you shouldn't be able to throw a challenge flag in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, and do you have something to say?
No,
I think all like controversial calls, like people might say, "Oh, that's gonna be ridiculous when you're trying to challenge every call," but at the end of the day, I think it'd be like, yes, you might have a 4.5 hour long game, but you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you gotta just focus, and that the longer game, yes, it might be longer, and you might think that's annoying, but it's gonna be more entertaining when you know that the game is being as refed as fairly as possible. So,
Yeah, I feel like if you like in those 2 minutes, it is kind of controversial because what if the team has no, or I guess they would have a timeout, maybe. I don't know, but what if they throw the challenge flag and use it as a timeout to benefit them,
yeah.
so they're not missing or losing out on time?
But then even if they did throw that challenge flag because they had a timeout left, and then because that's how, and then it's a bad call, they get charged for a timeout anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess that's kind of fair. But if it is successful, they get their timeout back and they get their call their way. So
Yeah,
I get both ways, but I think there definitely does need to be some sort of
change.
reforming of
Yeah.
the reffing system.
Yeah, and kind of with the throwing it as a timeout, I feel like if they would change it where you can throw a red flag with within the last 2 minutes, I think if the call is not overturned and it stands, I feel like you could have like a runoff on the clock where then you can't really benefit from just throwing the challenge flag for no reason.
Yeah, it definitely needs some changes. But talking about changes, what do you guys think about some of the changes the NFL has put into place this year? One of them is on a kickoff, if a receiver kneels down before the 25-yard line, they get it at the 25-yard line. So if they catch the ball or call a fair catch, not kneel it, like at the 15, then they get it at the 25-yard line. What do you guys think of that?
I think that's just stupid. Like, you're choosing to take it from the 15-yard line. And then what's the point of having a kick returner?
Yeah.
Like, if you're just going to have because it's like the same thing when they kick it out the back of the end zone. You're punishing the special teams and the best kickers in the league who kick all day, every day for all their practices. You're punishing them for being good enough to kick it that far. And then in that case, what's the point of having a punt returner? Go throw one of the fans out there to catch it, be in the 15-yard line and fair catch it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what the percentage is, but ever since they moved it, because it used to be at the 20-yard line, if you'd just on a kickoff, if you'd kneel it or if it'd go out the back of the end zone, you'd go on the 20. But ever since they moved it to the 25, I mean, the return rate is so much smaller that, I mean, it's more than likely because of injuries. I mean, a lot of people get injured on returns, so they're doing that more for the players. But I feel like that takes a lot of fun out of the game, too, by doing that. And along with just punt returns, taking the knee and getting on the 25, it's just so easy to start off at the 25, and then it just takes a lot of fun out of the game.
Yeah. Well, and then, like, if you do catch it behind and you decide to run it, like, and you said injury, but I feel like that's just part of football.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
if you catch it and you aren't, I mean, you're going to be in the NFL, so you're good, but you're going to get blown up. Like, that's just a part of football. Either you're good enough to outmaneuver and you're going to get way past the 25-yard line, or that's your own fault for, I guess, not having a good enough kick returner to run it the rest of the way. But
yeah, but I mean, you look at quarterbacks and you see how they're so much more picky on hits on the quarterback, which some of them are dirty. But I mean, they're throwing flags if your hand just grazes their face or something. So I think they're going down the more safe road and wanting to protect the players more. But
Yeah, I think it makes it less interesting, though. Like,
yeah,
I think
sure.
when you're on the 1-yard line, you're clenching your hands on your seat, just waiting to see if they get a safety or, like, I don't know, make a good play, get past the 1-yard line. I don't know why you would punish the special teams for a good kick. So
yeah. Bringing us into our next topic, Ravens versus Chiefs. The Chiefs did outplay the Ravens 17-10. I'm a Chiefs fan, and I remember last week everyone was dogging on them, so
yeah.
I'm just going to say that I told you so right now, but
Hey, I was for the Chiefs too.
that's fair. That's fair. And
Right
Josh
there.
just decides to never show up to our podcast. So, Josh, who did you think was going to win?
I thought the Ravens were going to win, and I wanted the Ravens to win. But I don't know. Lamar is not looking good for postseason quarterback whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 1-2 now, and yeah, I don't know. He did not play that great. If you look at his normal season games, he played a lot different. So I was surprised by that one. I think Chiefs played well.
I think the Chiefs played really well. If they
Yeah.
if they can play like that this upcoming next week, then I think it'll be a much better game than people are expecting it to be. But again, it's one of those things where if they can show up or not. But some statistics for you guys at home. The Ravens had 8 penalties for 95 yards. Think about that. That is game changing.
Whole football field.
Yeah, literally. That sets them back an insane amount. Kyle Van Noy was called for a brutal personal foul. He walked up to Kelsey and he was visibly angry, and he head bumped him, causing a conflict. When I'm sure you guys saw it all over social media, the video of the kicker too, Justin Tucker, right? And Kelsey and Mahomes grabbing
took
his
his
stuff.
kicking.
Yeah. Well, and then he came out afterwards and he was like, "Oh, it's just it was some jokes." That's what Justin Tucker said. "Oh, it was all fun and games." And then Kelsey and Mahomes came out and were like, "No, he was in our way. It doesn't matter." I think when games get scrappy like that, it ruins. I get that there's going to be emotions in football and emotions in sport in general, but when you become that overwhelmed, I guess, to the point where you have to want to physically beat somebody, I think it becomes a bit ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of the smack talk that happened during the game kind of led to those penalties or whatever. I feel like if there was more sportsmanship or less smack talk, it wouldn't have been as severe, I guess.
I'm not personally, in all sports, I'm not the biggest fan of smack talk. I think shut your mouth and play the game.
Yeah.
If you wanted to play a game, or if you wanted to do sports, you're doing it to play, not to run your mouth. But I mean, that might just be my opinion.
Yeah, my opinion's a little different than that because I feel like smack talk brings the game to a different level. You play the game, then you smack talk, and you get in their head and just makes them more angry. And I think it makes it more fun to watch and play.
Okay, that's fair. But I also think that what level of smack talk are you talking? Because when people get personal and they're talking about people's if you're if you were to get pancake, George Kittle pancaking Aiden Hutchinson, in that case, if you're gonna stand up and be yeah, okay, that's one thing. But when people I'm talking personal, when you want to bring in people's families or your mom jokes, that's when it gets to the point where you're okay, now you're not talking about your game, you're talking about you're not talking about them as a player, you're talking about them as
Family is a little off. I feel like that one is a little too far, but I mean, who doesn't like your mom joke? Those are pretty funny.
I mean, I guess, but if that's what you think. Speaking of Aiden Hutchinson and George Kittle, Lions versus 49ers. The 49ers played a good second half and were able to beat them 34-31, which I think it was 21-7 at.
I think it was 28-3 or 24-3.
I thought
Maybe.
they had a touchdown
Maybe
in the
it was a
first
touchdown.
half.
I don't know. It was a 3-score game for sure.
Yeah.
I do know that.
And I don't know how you even come back from that. Football especially, I feel is harder than any sport to be able to come back from a deficit like that.
It's the Lions.
That's
That's
fair.
how the
That's
comeback happened.
Well, and
but-
some of their play, don't get me wrong, I like Dan Campbell. I like what Dan Campbell's doing out there in Detroit, but some of the play calls, you have to get at the very end, you have to kick an onside regardless to get the ball back, and it's third and long or third and short or whatever. I can't remember.
It was third and goal. Well, at that point, I don't know. There was a little over a minute. They had 2 timeouts, and if they would have just passed it, it would have been incomplete. No big deal. They would have went for it on 4th down anyways. But if they would have just passed it, would have stopped the clock, they wouldn't have had to waste a timeout. Then they could have kicked it to the Chiefs, and they could have stopped them and had time.
49ers.
For 4 downs, 49ers. They could have stopped them, and they would have had time to get the ball back as long as the 49ers wouldn't convert on the first down. But
I think you kick a field goal there, and then because if you have to get an onside anyways, you may as well try to not gamble.
Well, and
I
I
mean-
think that success starts at the quarterback position for the 49ers. I feel like Brock Purdy's underestimated, and he just kind of led that team. But I think it was also defense, though. So
I would say the Lions, I don't know how they scored that much when, like, don't get me wrong, 49ers definitely are known for their offense, but, like, the 49ers offense is actually ranked second, and their defense is only ranked 8th. I don't know how their defense I don't know how the offense scored that little because the Lions didn't even have that good of a defense. They have the one good cornerback. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. And then they have Aiden Hutchinson. Other than that, I feel like they don't really have anybody that's that crazy, but
Yeah.
that's just what I think. So going into our next thing then, upcoming Super Bowl, the 49ers versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense is ranked second in the National Football League with the 49ers being 8th. And the Chiefs offense is ranked 9th with the 49ers offense being ranked second. What are your guys' score predictions?
go ahead.
I'm thinking that the Chiefs are gonna come out with the win. At the start of the season or like halfway, I was not at the. I mean, the Chiefs had like ups and downs, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd have good games, they've had bad games.
They beat good teams and lose to terrible teams.
Yeah, but after these postseason games, I mean, I think they've really stepped it up, and I don't know. I think they're pretty much unstoppable now with the playing the 49ers. I just think the Chiefs are going to come out winning.
That's what I think. That's what I want to think. My heart says Chiefs. My mind says 49ers because when you look at the – like, don't get me wrong. Chiefs D is crazy. L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie. But, like, you were talking about Brock Purdy, who I feel like I said last time was kind of a bit overrated. But when the way he played the other night, you got to give the dude some credit regardless. But you're talking about that and then George Kittle. I think as good as the Chiefs defense is, it's a lot to stop. My score predictions probably 28-21 Chiefs, we'll say.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I think it should be like a really even match. I feel like the Chiefs defense will hold them, but like second half 49ers defense seems like they're pretty good. They're legit, so I don't know. I'd say probably 28-21 to Chiefs.
To jump in with my score prediction, I'm saying 24-14 Chiefs.
Oh, you think it's going to – I feel like that's always in my – like when I'm thinking score predictions, I never think scores like that. Like I always just
People
think
always
touchdown.
go high.
Yeah. Well, I always think touchdowns. Like I always think, all right, 28 is 4 touchdowns, or 21's 3 touchdowns. I never think like, oh, there's field goals.
Oh yeah, there's a field goal in
Like
there.
special teams make the whole game, and I feel like I just always kind of neglect it. But
What does our tech crew think? What is your opinion?
I think the 49ers are going to win, and I kind of hope they do because I'm a Packers fan, and we almost beat them, so it would make us look pretty good anyways. Paxton?
We're going to go with the 49ers. Score, kind of like where Josh is at. Probably like, I don't know, 26. I don't know. Honestly, I'm trying to think of like oddball numbers here. 26. I don't know, Shirley. Where would you go with that? I'm trying to think of like odd numbers here because I know it's going to be. It's going to
13.
be. Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I know they're going to fight pretty good. I mean, it's a Super Bowl. It's where every team wants to be, really. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be really actually low scoring. I just think it's going to go back and forth.
that's fair. The ESPN line is 49ers by 2, with the over/under being 47.5. So the fact that, I mean, and maybe it's because we're closer to Kansas City, but the fact that so many people think that Chiefs might be able to pull it off, I guess we'll see. But
Yeah.
we'll have to discuss that next time. 'Cause
Something to ponder till
Oh yeah.
next time.
indeed. So we'll see you on next Friday with Fridays with First. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.